So tonight's agenda, the various topics that we have outlined, are going to start with our collaboration and overview with the University of Miami. So we have, and we're honored to have Dr. Ralph Sacco, Dr. Jose Romano, and Dr. Carolina Gutierrez from joining us tonight. And Dr. Sacco is the professor of neurology there and the chairman. He's the former president of the American Stroke and Heart Association. Dr. Jose Romano is the director of the stroke division at and professor of neurology. And Dr. Gutierrez is the director of research for the Department of Neurology at So without further ado, I want to have Dr. Sacco come up, and what he's about to show you is hopefully, gonna encourage all of us to participate, if we're not already, in data collection in a systematic way and sharing openly with the EMS. Thank you, Dr. Sacco.
So thank you very much. We're happy to be here. Traffic wasn't too bad. Jose Romano drives very fast on the fast track lane there, so it was great to come here. And glad to see such an incredible turnout. You really are, I think, leading the way in I think it's a grassroots effort that I think we hope to take at least statewide to start, but even maybe further. And it really, when you think about the whole kind of stroke systems of care, this is a way to really connect the dots between pre-hospital, the hospital phase, and then hopefully even the post-hospital phase. So we're happy to be here as part of this. I think some of you have been to our meetings before. Our Florida Stroke Registry is now actually in year 7, almost year 8, going into soon. But I wanted to first give a little background of where we are, where we're going, and then spend a little bit more time specifically on the regional dashboards that we've set up, that the hospitals now have, that I don't think EMS has yet requested. But these dashboards exist now for a couple quarters, and the hospitals have them. So again, it takes a team. Dr. Romano is part of that team. Dr. Gutierrez is my right hand in terms of really helping make this registry go. But there are many other members. Making sense of the data is not easy. Get with the guidelines, obviously, is the backbone of which our registry is built on for the American Heart Association. But then we have a number of programmers, statisticians, and others that kind of work in the data to kind of be able to create these customized reports. These reports IQVIA can't create. And that actually causes some of the problems when the hospital try to verify things, because these are kind of customized reports by region, by county, by state. So we've been working as a collaboration. As you know, also, we were funded by the NIH the first 5 years. And then the state, with the legislation change, took it over and is providing money. But each year, we have to ask. New congressperson, new governor, you have to ask for the appropriation to run the registry. And without the money, obviously you can't run the registry. And so again, it's a real collaboration, but it does depend on some of the appropriations. It's also a team effort, and as you know, there are many members even in this room. Niels, Burgess, name a few, are key members, but I think Miami, Broward, Palm Beach County are well represented in the leadership of this registry in terms of our Stroke Advisory Committee. And we also have Ken Shepke, that we're happy to hear is now has a statewide role for Florida and in the EMS. And he attended our meeting in Florida, in Miami, in not too long ago. And we're excited that he's interested in seeing the registry go further. So this just gives you a handle on the model that we're talking about. So at the top of the model is data. MSTARS, for example, is pre-hospital data that we were able to import into the registry. but I've learned about some other new initiatives even where electronically you can connect EMS data to Epic data to get with the guidelines data. Get with the guidelines data is really the backbone. All of the hospital-based data on stroke, all the performance metrics that you know about for Joint Commission certification of both primary and comprehensive stroke center. And then post-hospital is the hardest. What we really want to know is how patients are doing 3 months out at least. And that has still been a gap for us. Way back when, 7 years ago, when we're trying to get everybody to collect 90-day outcome data, it's hard. It's costly, it's time-consuming, not everybody does it. That's still a gap in terms of getting post-hospital data. What we have done for now, and I'm not going to show you any of this data, we have electronically connected with Medicare data sets, CMS data, but that's only some of the patients. They're over 65 and they're only the Medicare sample, but we've been able to look at longer-term outcomes when we connect with the CMS. So the data is critical, and then when the data feeds into the registry, the idea is that we can track and analyze, benchmark, and look for improvement over time, and we can develop, demonstrate, and disseminate best practices. And the goal is to learn from the data, to improve care, and improve quality. So right now, our impact is on the healthcare system. All of us as healthcare providers, whether we're on the pre-hospital or in the hospital phase, we're really affecting the healthcare system. But there are others, and then this is our famous quality improvement loop that I stolen from Get With The Guidelines. But the whole idea is, you measure, you benchmark your data, you compare to others, and you do things to improve, and then you remeasure, and you see this quality improvement loop that's improving. And then in the future, we hopefully to expand really on the multiple determinants of health, which include the community, the individual, the patient, the caregiver, and even the healthcare policy, payer, and standards. So this is sort of the model, what's called a conceptual framework of what a quality improvement program is all about. Now, I think you all know about the change in the state legislation that now brought the Florida Stroke Registry into the legislation, and it reads that each acute stroke ready center, primary stroke center, comprehensive stroke center shall regularly report to the statewide stroke registry information specified by the department, including nationally recognized stroke performance. So that is written into legislation. But as you can see, nobody's enforcing it yet. But I think the Department of Health does want to start enforcing it. We'll go over it in a minute and how we're doing, but this really says every stroke center should be collecting the data and entering the registry. At the moment, we have 82 hospitals of about 140 in the state of Florida. So we're getting there, but not everybody is in yet. But what happened was after we had this 5 years of funding, we demonstrated we could do it. We got all the kinks worked out with the NIH money, which was close to about $700,000 annually. Then we got the state legislation in 2017, but it was disconnected to money. First year we got $200,000, which wasn't enough to run this registry based on all the people and the work and the effort. And then the second year now we got $500,000, and then we're going to be going back in to ask, hopefully, and last year we had asked for $1 million to really run the registry and to create all of these specific dashboards we'll see in a moment. So right now we're at about 82 hospitals in the registry. So in the registry, 82, to be in the registry, you have to be in Get With The Guidelines. That's the database we currently use. And then we have, regional representation. 33 in the south. You can see East Central, West Central, the North, and the Panhandle. Right now is fewer. So what the Department of Health wants us to do is get all the hospitals in. So in yellow are the ones that are the easiest for us to get. Those are all the ones that already are collecting and Get With The Guidelines, but haven't yet signed the contract to allow their data to be merged into the Florida Stroke Registry. There's about 48. We're going after them first. Obviously, nobody has enforced the legislation, which says everybody's supposed to be in. But the 48 that are, quote, collecting and Get With The Guidelines, they're engaged. It will be easy, simple to get them in. And once they get in, all their data back to 2010 goes into the registry. The red is the hardest. That's about 30 hospitals that we estimate that are not in Get With The Guidelines, could be collecting data in various forms, but it'd be harder to get that data into our registry. Now, we haven't yet said we can take data from anything, you know, an Excel spreadsheet, somebody using their own data, homegrown database. If the state gave us the money, I guess we could do that, but in the legislation, it says using a nationally certified state or a nationally certified data collection instrument, and that was the guidelines. So the goal is in this year, working with the Department of Health, is one, to get the yellow hospitals in, and two, working with the AHA, to get these 30 hospitals aboard and then in. So right now, in your 3 counties, we have good, and this may not be totally up to date, so if there's an error here, let us know. It's a moving target constantly, like Baptist just bought this hospital, they're coming in this way. So right now, in Palm Beach, we have 8 of the 12 are in. The ones in blue, we have a comprehensive, the other ones are primary, and so I'll show you in a moment the ones that we think aren't in the registry. In Broward, it's 10 of 14, and in Miami-Dade, it's 10 of 16 that are in our registry and get the guidelines, but there could be errors. So right now, this is what we have. This was like hot off the press, but things do change any minute. Somebody say, oh, I signed on the contract, but the contract didn't come to us yet, or to IQVIA, and therefore we don't have the data. So in Broward, Plantation General, Northwest Medical, University Hospital, Palm Beach, you can see Bethesda, I think, are coming in with the Baptist relationship. But this is what we have for now, and I know that this is changing. And then Westchester, at the moment, we have is not in the guidelines, is that right? Yeah. And then Broward Health Imperial Point. They're coming off. They're coming off. So it's a constant moving target. But I think what you see is that in Broward and Palm Beach, you have good participation in the registry. So I think that was the perfect setting for them trying to create these regional dashboards that we're going to talk more about. So this is the flow of data. Data comes in from the Get With The Guidelines, from IQVIA to us, and then we have to do a lot of work. The data is not easy, believe me. Anybody who's worked with it, it's tricky data, especially when you start merging with other data sets and trying to create these other reports. So it gets into the registry database. We download right now 4 times a year. We actually did promise when we set this up that the hospitals would be de-identified. We tell the hospitals their data, but at the moment it's A, B, C, and you'll see in our regional dashboards how we're dealing with that to give you the information you need, but still to, for now, protect the identity of the hospitals. That could change. You know, in this era of transparency, things could change. Department of Health, Shepke even has his feelings about how this should look. It's possible that the days of de-identification or blinding the hospitals may be in the past, but right now, that's what it is. And then there are 3 reports. The regional dashboards I'm going to go over in detail. The stroke annual dashboard is something we did for I think only the first time last year, right? Second time we're going to do it this year. And the state asked us to put together a dashboard for the whole state. And that's online, you can see it, and the Department of Health wanted that. And then what we started with were the individual hospital dashboards. Every hospital gets annually a dashboard that displays their activity by race and by sex, and compares them to other hospitals, mainly usually in the region or the state. And then we connect them up with hopefully educational programs to include. So we've also published, and some of you have been part of these publications that have come out of the registry, on race-ethnic disparities, sex disparities, disparities in trends to door to needle time, predictors of thrombolysis for mild stroke, and the need to prioritize education of the public, and there are a number of other presentations. We even have some of our coordinators who've done a great job, who will put in abstracts that they're working on for some of the meetings like International Stroke Conference, American County Neurology, and the quality meeting. Amy has something here that she just put in and is hopefully to be accepted on depression and stroke. So we want to make sure that people realize that this is a resource that you can utilize. So first was the annual hospital disparities dashboard. I think everyone knows about these, I hope. Does anybody not know about our hospital disparity dashboard? Good. Okay. Well, every hospital gets a dashboard and gets to see their data, and really the curve, the graphs we show the hospital's performance versus the performance at the state level and at the region level. And we do white, African American, and Hispanics, and we do men and women. A lot of all the primary stroke data, all the performance metrics, and more are part of these hospital dashboards. This is the annual dashboard, and all of you who can get in to the password-protected website where you can download your own dashboards, as well as see the annual hospital, annual state dashboards available for everyone to see, right? And this just shows everything across all of the metrics combined. So you're not seeing by individual hospital, you're seeing all the combined outcomes for the whole state. And then the regional dashboards. And that was the experiment, the pilot that we started with all of your great work in Broward and Palm Beach. And I think, like I said, you're really setting a standard. So the goal of the regional dashboards are really to, I think, take regional stroke care to the next level. To really, instead of looking at something that's totally statewide or just hospital specific, to work as a community, particularly as a county. So to improve quality of care through a self-monitoring tool that displays critical county-specific acute stroke treatment metrics. The grassroots effort really started by your work, and I think Rajesh and his team here really pushed the envelope and said we want this to happen, and kind of pushed it, and then we were the kind of the data drivers, but it was your hard work to get the hospitals all willing and able to be part of this. And then in May of 2018, we notified the hospitals. And this was the letter that went out to all the hospitals so they could download their regional data for, this would have been, which quarter in 2017?
Well, this would have been the notification that we're about to do this.
Right. And so they see quarter data. And I still think we have work to do here because a quarter is still small numbers. And a little change in small numbers in the denominator, the numerator, can make the hospital look bad or good. So, but for now it's quarter, but we have some proposals to maybe make the data set larger and still give perhaps interim reports, but really think about it as annual basis. But for now we do quarter, and each hospital has received a quarter regional dashboard in Broward and Palm Beach for certain quarters in 2017. Quarter 3 and quarter 4. Yeah, here it is. Quarter 3 and quarter 4 have been downloaded, have been cleaned. The hospitals have looked at them. They've written us a lot of questions back. In fact, we've created a whole user manual so they could kind of replicate or validate the numbers. Some are easier to validate than others. The programming gets tricky, but we created this whole manual that we give to the hospitals so they can individually go in and hopefully recreate the data and be convinced that this is their data for the hospital. So they have had this, they've had 2 quarters now, and we're working on giving them 2018, quarter 1, quarter 2. There was a little glitch with IQVIA. We're hoping to get the glitch fixed soon. And then we'll be able to get quarter 1 and quarter 2 out them very soon. So they'll have really 4 quarters of data that EMS providers can begin to request. So here are the key elements, and again, your team were the key people that said what they wanted in the dashboard. So first, we wanted to make sure we included primary stroke center metrics. Everybody is still primary stroke center, so there's some IB TPA metrics in there. I'll show you a couple of them. Percent IB TPA overall, median door to needle time, modified Rankin at discharge, and symptomatic intracerebral hemorrhage. And then a lot of it was the EVT performance metrics, endovascular thrombectomy. So percent EVT arriving in 24 hours, 6 hours, median door to groin time, across all these different subgroups, MRS 0 to 2. We can actually collapse these down even further as things got better. Remember when this started, first it was 6 hours, now it's gone to 24 hours. So I think we could probably collapse some of these tables and not have as many subtables in here. So this is what it looks like. This is a graphic for Broward, and this is IB TPA So the denominator here is all ischemic stroke patients, regardless of when they arrive, all coming in, and the numerator is everybody getting IV TPA. And so this is a percentage. The color bars are green is a larger hospital. Green is defined as large 88 or more stroke admissions, ischemic stroke admissions in that quarter. Blue is medium size, and for now that's 43 to 87. And then red is a smaller hospital, less than 42 strokes over a quarter. So first you can see small, medium, and large. And then the gray bars are the performance, and I know you can't all see this from where you're sitting, are the performance in Broward County and Palm Beach County, and overall for the state of Florida. So in the state of Florida right now, TPA use is 14% overall for all ischemic strokes. In Broward County, it's 18%, and in Palm Beach County, it's 21%, based on the centers that are in here. And then you can see the differences. And look so if you look among the green hospitals, there is some variation in terms of the amount of IV TPA utilization. Now, Rajesh brought up a great point this morning when he was looking at this and said, well, some people sample versus putting everybody in. The majority we actually ran quickly a quick survey, and we've determined it's only about 20% of hospitals that are sampling in Broward and Palm Beach County. So that's about 2 out of 10, maybe 3 out of 10. The ones that are sampling are using the joint commissioning model of sampling, which is true sampling, we're being told. But sampling could sometimes, how would you say, rig the data a little bit. If you only sample certain cases, well, we're only going to sample the EBT cases or the IVTP cases, it could look like 100%. So we have to be careful. I really believe the best way is to put everybody in. And the majority are putting everybody in. Even if you only collect a little bit of data on all of them, but you collect a lot of good data on the treated ones, for IVTPA and EBT. But so the point first is to notice variation in care, and notice that the hospitals are blinded. A, B, C to J. Those are individual hospitals in Broward County. And the N here, the little number in parentheses, is the total number. So let's say Hospital B is treating 3% of 30. Hospital G is treating 27% of 97 in that quarter with IVTPA. So this is just to orient you to your hospital's data for IVTPA. This is now median door to needle time. So again, it's dissecting only the IVTPA treated patients. So you don't get in this unless you got IVTPA, and then the median door to needle time for that hospital. The other thing we added in this was the average age. So, some hospitals are treating older patients. So for example, Hospital I, the average age is 65, while Hospital C up there, the average age is 61. So remember, age is something that will affect the outcome and could affect the morbidity and mortality for the hospitals. But this gives you a handle. Again, the thing to note is that there is some variation. Now, obviously, if we add confidence intervals, there's going to be some variation that's acceptable. And when there's extra variation, how can we get all to higher numbers? Or, well, for this median or needle time, we want lower numbers. And then this is percent EBT. So this is the one the interventionalists want to see. So this is endovascular therapy among all those ischemic strokes arriving within 24 hours in a hospital. So first, in the whole state of Florida, it's 9%. And this is, now remember, this is quarter 1, 2018. This is not too long ago data, about a year ago. 9% in Florida, Palm Beach was 12%, and Broward was 14%. Total EBT use among all these ischemic stroke cases arriving within 24 hours. Now, to the right there, by the way, is how we calculate things, and we let the hospitals know. That's in our manual, so they can recreate data, and you can see what we exclude and what we include. So let's look at the green hospitals for now. They're the larger hospitals. And we have one hospital, G, that's treating 26% of 97 patients treated with EBT. Pretty high number. And then there's two hospitals, I and J, 10% of 121, 11% of 93 being treated with EBT within 24 hours. So it's a little bit of a dashboard. just to get a sense of how the hospital is doing in that. There clearly could be differences. Maybe one hospital is getting patients later than 24 hours, or there are other reasons of people that are excluded from EBT for whatever reason, which there are possibilities, but this just gives you what the data looks like. And then this is now, if we change the denominator to 6 hours, which I think Rajesh, you had said we could probably delete this moving forward and stick to the 24 hours. You can see it's actually not that different. There's the 24 hours, and then there's the 6 hours. So we really aren't gaining that much, like subgrouping the 6 hours. And then this is median door to groin time among those receiving EBT. Like IBTPA, you only earn this if you got the therapy. Look at the green hospitals. Here among the green hospitals, large hospitals, the median times aren't bad, 63.5. 63, 54, and 70.5. But the 0.5 we'll have to get rid of. That's 70 minutes is pretty good enough. I don't think we need the 0.5s of these. But there's a median, and then the average ages in those hospitals. And then you can look at in Florida overall, the median door to groin time is 72 minutes. In Palm Beach, it's 51 minutes. And in Broward, it's 63 minutes. And this is for all those coming in within 24 hours. Well, you have to get EBT. So again, this shows you a little bit about by hospital, how they're performing, what proportion of the hospitals are doing X, Y, or Z. And this just gives you a little example. There are a lot more metrics. I'm not going to go through them all, but these are the key ones that we wanted to make sure that you saw and the hospitals are seeing, and that we hope the EMS directors can see. So this is the hardest one, which is some outcomes. And this is your modified Rankin scale, 0 to 2 being good at discharge. Not at 30 days, not at 90 days, at discharge. And the first thing you see in the little box table below is we still have some missing data. So for example, Hospital D, which is a blue hospital, 28% of their strokes don't have the MRS at discharge filled out. In Broward, overall, it looks like 29% don't have MRS at discharge. So when we have missing data, it's hard for us to infer, and a few missing variables can make it harder. But this gives you the proportion that are hitting an MRS of 0 to 2. So look at the green hospitals and large hospitals. G, 16% are getting an MRS of 0 to 2 at discharge. Remember, that's a discharge. Many of us in the trials are really looking at 90-day outcomes, where the morbidity and mortality may even be less when you're looking at 90-day outcomes. And then you can see Hospital J, 40%, higher numbers, an MRS of 0 to 2 among those receiving EBT. We also have the NIH stroke scales in there in the table, so you can look at that hospital and say, well, maybe one hospital is only treating severe cases. So let's look at, for example, Hospital J, the baseline NIH stroke scale is 14 for Hospital 17 for Hospital J. The average age in Hospital J is 72, and they're still having 40% of their EBT cases in an MRS of 0 to 2 at discharge. That's pretty good for that hospital. So this is what they look like. Let me pause there for a second. Any questions? I think the hospitals hopefully have gone in, downloaded, and seen it. If not, I urge you to go in and look.
I have one question. Of all these factors that you mentioned, for primary or endovascular, I think, and I want to know your opinion, the only things that can evaluate the system without considering the patient differences is time to needle or the primary, and time to groin culture. Other than that, there are so many variables regarding the patient that you cannot really say, okay, this hospital is doing better because their modified ranking score that you measure it at 3 months are better. So what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think there are ways. So say you take 2 hospitals that are still seeing maybe similar numbers of cases, and one hospital is giving TPA to 20% of all those that come in within, the time window of, let's say, 24 hours, and another hospital is only giving 10%. When you see that kind of variability, it does call into question whether there are any other systematic differences between how things are done. How they, do they hang TPA in the emergency room? How do they get people quickly into a CT scan? How quickly can the interventionalists get in on time? And these are systematic things that we could modify in terms of the way we perform. So, I think some of these are still modifiable based on what's happening. Some of them you're right. If one hospital is only getting everybody over the age of 80, that may be tricky. But some of them are modifiable in terms of, I would say, performance and the way, the methods that you do things. And then we also want to share best practices. If one hospital is doing really well, it's not secrets, but what are they doing that they can share with the other hospital, and then everybody raise the bar and improve care across the whole system.
My opinion is that the only real measure that could serve your purpose is door reperfusion. Everything else doesn't count. Everything else can be modified.
Is he an intervention?
Played with it. Yeah.
Throw that guy out of here. I have one simple comment to that. You have a 40-year-old, all the arches, everything is straightforward. You can go with one and one pass easy. Then you have an 80-year-old, arch is so difficult, you cannot easily get to the front. So it doesn't mean that you didn't do well on that one.
Well, that's why we put age in there. Look, for example, look at hospitals D, E, and F. The mean age in hospitals D is 68. Hospital E, 68. Hospital F is 65. You have to argue that the age at least distribution in those three hospitals is not that bad. Not that different. No, I know. I'm just saying, just throwing age out there. The NIH stroke skills, we will give you the variables that you can look at to maybe explain variation. And in our models that we do, we kind of create larger models for the whole system. We put other variables in to what we call adjust for some of these patient characteristics. Yes.
I think we have to sort of understand where this project came from. We started out with a sex and ethnic disparity project. We realized very quickly that in a high-performing tri-county area, sex and ethnic disparity actually didn't exist really. I mean, if anything, some minorities were treated more quickly than the main groups. And so what we really focused on was the zip code disparity. And what we're trying to do is just a transparency tool. This is not a punitive tool. It's a transparency tool because the pictures on both sides. For instance, if you treat only the top 3% of your optimal patients that make it into Dawn or into Extend IA or one of the perfusion selection trials, yes, you can get 100% good outcomes in 90 days, but that's not the point. You're undertreated. So if your treatment rate is low, but your good outcomes are very good, that sort of questions the good outcomes. Because if your treatment rates are 50%, but everybody goes to hospice afterwards, that means your selection's not right. So in between, this tool gives everybody that looks at it all the pieces of information. It's not punitive. It's just for the EMS medical directors to take that information, get into a discussion, and for everybody to benchmark each other and say, well, hey, they're treating more. Why are we under-treating? Well, maybe we're a little bit conservative. Maybe we do need to treat those 90-year-olds. But if the 90-year-olds aren't good, it hits us at the modified ranking in 90 days. That every system finds their own balance in between. So that's how we lift the boat for everybody. I think this is an overall performance improvement tool, not a punitive tool. And I think that's what's so important to have all those measures in there and not really reduce it to one punitive measure.
Any other questions on the regional? So this is how we do it. So first, the hospital downloads, we clean it, we developed it, they look at the graphs, we give it to them first. They see all the other hospitals, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then they know what they are. So they can see their comparison. So that's the first thing. They get it from the website. And then the question is, steps 5 to 7 are all the discretion and timeline of the hospitals, and then the question is the EMS medical directors. And for now, the way we set it up is the EMS medical directors are supposed to request the data from the hospital, and the hospital would give them the report, and then they would decide how to interpret and what to do with it. But that was the goal for now. It's possible in the future we'll create things directly to EMS, but for now, that is the flow of information. You give it to the hospitals, they verify it, and the hospitals voluntarily give it at the direction, the request of EMS directors. Now, has anyone has requested any dashboards yet? Nobody has requested yet. Nobody?
I think some of us were unaware of it. I think some of us were unaware that that existed.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, I think didn't you say this was going to kick off, was it
Yeah,
2018 or 2017?
as of this quarter. So
This quarter, yeah.
we allowed, the initial plan was go live in 2018, but out of all fairness to all the systems, because thrombectomy is still relatively new on the horizon, we wanted enough time to, allow for internal process improvement. As Neil said, it's not punitive,
Right.
so let's understand our data. That's what 2018 was for, the series of lectures that we did. And now in 2019, we do want EMS to be aware, and that's why you're all invited here tonight. And so in conjunction with informing the hospitals, I also encourage the Tri-County neurointerventionalists to connect with your EMS councils on a quarterly basis. Visit them and inform them of the availability of the dashboards.
If you don't mind, just one more question. You say that it is not punitive, but at the same time, if you want to improve the system, as such it's a very complex matter. If you want to improve the system in different hospitals, it should be shared with the hospital and it should be limited to the hospital. The moment it is, I don't know how exposure of the data to the EMS, how is it going to improve the system? Why is otherwise exposed into the system itself,
So I think first, a hospital wants to see how they're performing compared to another hospital. That's important for them to understand.
That's true.
That's
Perfect.
I think what EMS wants is to improve the care across the county. Remember, EMS are the ones that bring patients to the hospitals, and so I think they want some knowledge. And I don't want to say, I think it should be all carrots and not sticks, but how to then, well, what can we do to kind of make things better? And how can one hospital share with another hospital? So I agree, it's not punitive, but it is a way to kind of, I don't want to say checks and balances, but to be as transparent as we can so that we know and EMS feels good about the patients that they're transporting as rapidly as they can from the field to certain hospitals. And if anything, we want to be able to give the hospitals all the tools and the educational programs that we can develop and other hospitals can develop to get them to even perform better. The ultimate goal is everybody performing better.
I totally agree with you. That's what I said. Like, how is that exposure of this data to the EMS is going to improve the services?
I think
That's what I want to know.
it fits into what's called, I think, the systems
Yeah,
of
so
care.
if I want to step in there, so the first thing that you have to do is you have to first understand where you are in the market. Because if you compare yourself to Florida, we all consistently win a trophy. But if you compare yourself to Broward County or Palm Beach County, you don't. So that's the first thing that we needed to do. We needed to create a regional benchmark. The next thing that is you have to be able to take this regional benchmark to your hospital administrator and say, we are under the average. We're not performing where we should be. I need this resource, I need that resource, I need to improve this process. And then at the end, your hospital administrator may say, nah. But if your EMS or medical director comes and says, you know what, I'm aware that you're underperforming and hospital B is performing better than you and you're almost equidistant, well, that puts some pressure on your hospital administrator to give you the resources so that every hospital improves. And we've seen it as we've developed the bypass. The numbers in the Tri-County area have improved dramatically. And when you look at the TPA numbers, the golden mean times are within a minute now of each other. 30 minutes, 20 minutes faster than the rest of Florida. And that is because we create transparency, because people have developed the resources and put money into where it is.
And the other aspect of this is that in this value-based future, payers will be requesting this data as well. So better to do it ourselves and to have somebody else mandate.
Why don't we hear from an EMS
Yeah,
person?
and from a pre-hospital perspective, in the continuum of care, we want to be part of the conversation. We want to understand what's going on. We understand the outcomes. We understand what we can do better to help facilitate, improve the performance on all ends of the spectrum.
And it's sort of, to me, it's being part of a team And as part of a team, you work together, you share the information, and the stroke systems of care are all about bringing EMS with hospital, with post-hospital, and rehab in the future together and looking at all this data and then saying, let's work together to improve things. So we're almost done here. We still have limitations. One big limitation is there are still delays. It takes a while. Get with the guidelines first of all. It takes 90 days before we can even go and get the data. It takes almost 90 days before they will get the data in, then we harvest it, then we have to clean it. So some things are delayed, and that is it's not real time, and it always are delayed. We have some ideas that we want to talk to our advisory committee about in the future. We also have this manual that all the hospitals hopefully know. It's online, you can see how we calculate every single thing, and you can analyze all your data you want looking at the manual. Here have been some of the comments that we got back from hospitals. You know, again, they're worried sometimes when they can't run it. That's why we created the manual. And then lastly, you know, where are we going? One, we need to continue to lobby for the appropriation, which we started already in 2019 with the scan for state funding. Two, we want to get every hospital to participate in Florida to meet with what the legislation says. Three, we want to take this model that you've started, continue to work with you to apply it here, and then begin to work in Ellis County and what's the other county? Hillsborough. They'll already expressed interest. We want to accelerate this. Ideally, it would be great to get to real time reporting. That's not possible just yet. And then working with the Florida Department of Health, they want to bring other data in. For example, they may know how many people have high blood pressure, socioeconomic status in a county. They may have outcome data. They have other data that they want to connect up with the Department of Health. And then we want to continue to develop partnerships to, if anything, enhance the quality of care. And that's what it's all about. And I want to end with just again saying thank you to all of you who have worked so hard. Kixie, Rajesh, Niels, Peter, Ken. You know, without your dedication to pushing this, we wouldn't have gotten this far. And then obviously the AHA, Jeffrey, Kathy, and others. So thanks you very much. Enjoy your dinner.
The registry also has information, I guess.
Yes. We have some data for what's called MSTAR, which is an EMS database, but it isn't linked because not everybody gets the one number and get the guidelines data set. We can't automatically link it. So we got hundreds of thousands of EMS data, and then we tried to link it to what we had to get with the guidelines data set. And we were only successful in linking, I want to say it was 22,000 records. It wasn't great. I don't remember that. Even though I now have 100,000 records or more in our data set, only 20% of them we get MSTAR data linked to. Ideally, if we have the run numbers and the EMS data, it's hard to get the guidelines data. We have even better EMS data. So that's another I think, gap area.
What kind of information is that data?
EMS, you guys collect this MSTARS data. There's about time from scene, call to scene to hospital. There's all these measures in there. They're experts more than I am. But we put a lot in there and we looked at some rates. I think as far as one of the papers we published use the MSTARS data.
Is that information so that information not get available for us to review?
Carolina, the MSTARS data is in, but it's not in any of your reports. Because we took it in and we merged it together, but we haven't translated it back to the individual hospital. The MSTARS data, and it was only a sample. It was only 20% of the whole sample, so that's still a good thing. So I think on the pre-hospital phase and the post-hospital phase, we are still weak there, and we need to be stronger.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sacco, for an excellent presentation.